As we keep continuing to get deeper and deeper into the CCL seasons, more and more teams emerge as top contenders for the playoffs. My name is McCormiel. With me is Cash. We're live here for week number 8 of the CCL season. We have the Akron Zips going up against Colonel Esports. Akron Zips, of course, we just saw the top 5 plays. Bio at number 1 spot. Really can't get much better than that overall. Are looking like a very scary team and looking to make a deep playoff push, Cash.
They absolutely are, and if you didn't catch that top play, well, that's really all you need to see going into this one. That's going to be a big talking point that we'll get into tonight. But yeah, this Akron team looks really good.
Absolutely. Well, overall, again, this is going to be a Midwest Tier 1 or top cut matchup between both of these two teams. Both teams are really more playing for an automatic qualification into the playoffs overall, opposed to having to go through that desperate last chance qualifier that will see a ton, and I mean a ton of teams trying to fight for the last 4 spots that aren't the last 12 spots, I believe, that are not going to be auto-qualified by those top 4 outside of the top cut. So overall, this is a very important matchup for both of these two teams as they look to continue and reign for supremacy inside of their division. Overall, though, let's take a look at the team, or rather the head-to-head for this matchup coming up. Overall, Akron Zips, they come into this with a very, very nice record, 12-1 overall, Cash, with a 29-7 map count.
Yeah, 29-7 map count. That's really the story for the squad tonight. Only suffering a few losses throughout the duration of the season thus far, and just the standout for me is how dominant their hard point has been. Right at 15-3, that's just a backbone mode for you that you're going to rely on to just carry you through these series. And the way they've been winning, they definitely take series hot and early. But I mean, as you look down, Search and Destroy 8-3 and Control 6-1, are really very few weaknesses in this squad, and it's going to be up to Colonel Esports to try to exploit those.
We look to Nickel State for their statistics. Right side, your screen, 10-3 overall season record, 8-7 in hardpoint, kind of their weakest mode, at least from just the general base pay-per-view that we have for the series overall. But they have the ability to stun, show out, and to succeed to high proportions when we talk about hardpoint specifically. More so for the Search and Destroy and the Control, though, Cash. We talked a little bit earlier on, and we might say this a bit more for just expanding upon it inside of Keys to Victory, but you'd really have to assume they're going to need to take 2, 3, and 5.
Yeah, definitely. On paper, of course, that's what it looks like. Things can change once you're playing at this level of competition and this deep into the season. Anything really can happen. But yeah, on paper, it's looking like it's going to be a 2-3-5 for them to be their best bet. If they can snag that third game mode, as far as their respawn goes, they'll set up for success.
Gander at the Zips roster. We saw him last week on the Alpha stream. We'll do it again here this week, starting off with Storm, overall with Thieves, Bio, and Arxes. This is a team that has started to gel together really, really well over the course of the last few weeks. Last week on stream, we saw them play up against LA Tech. They beat them in a nice 3-0 fashion. Very fun match to watch, but we kind of got an insight into a few players, and in my eyes, who are kind of the front runners of this Akron Zips roster to be at least team MVPs. Thieves and Bio have been lighting up the battlefield every single night that they've played together.
They have, and in their wins, like you said, those are the two players that are going absolute takeover in these series. Now, if they can hone in some more consistent gameplay, especially against these top teams, and then kind of round it out with a more balanced approach from all 4 players, they're going to be nearly unstoppable.
Unstoppable is the name of the game. The team that's going to try and best them, though, Nickel State, the Colonel roster here. And again, this is not a team that you have to kind of sneeze your nose at. You have to take them very, very seriously. A lot of teams at times will start to play down to opponents, and you really hope that this isn't one of those teams that Zips Esports kind of comes into this and takes lightly. With Dreco, C-Mac, Wajan, and Hunter, this is, again, a team that not only has showed mass improvement, but is trying to best themselves in their own top cut for their playoff chances. Yeah, the 10-3 record has a few blemishes on it, but no picture is ever perfect. Everything is going to have at least one imperfection. So if this team is able to clean up a few of those edges, fill in the rest of the puzzle, they might just have a shot at playoffs and going even deeper than that.
They definitely do. And for me, Hunter and C-Mac, they have just paved the way and led the way for the squad across all modes. Like you said, there are some blemishes here and there, some bumps in the road that they've run into, but whenever they are winning, it is behind these two, and they are just completely controlling and dictating the maps, from slaying and respawns being double that of even the other team at times, to Search and Destroy just having double-digit kills. It's just whenever these guys are on, they are on fire. And so, like you had said, you hope Akron doesn't look to maybe play down to this team if you look at the record and view it from that way. But this is a team that can absolutely play up to their competition, and that's what I'm looking to see from them tonight.
Take a look at our map set overall. We'll kick things off for our hard point with a Tuscan. We'll find our way to a Berlin Search and Destroy, followed with a Gavoot to map number 3. Of course, that's our first 3 maps that we're guaranteed. If we do need to go to 4 and 5, Berlin and Tuscan will round out our best of 5 series. Starting off with Tuscan hard point, where we'll be flying to first, Cash. Overall, keys to victory for Akron. You talk about CMAC, you talk about Hunter. Those 2 players for Colonel Esports, you got to shut them down.
You have to have an answer for them on the map, and I think in Thieves and Bio you have that. You have to be able to match their pace early, because there are 2 players for Nickel State that can catch fire early and get going. So if you can match that, or at least best them and try to suppress that, yeah, you're going to be sitting very well. So you definitely need an answer for those 2.
The Akron Zips, again, you hate to sit here and kind of harp on the things over and over and over again, but when you look at the roster of Colonel Esports, you look at this matchup overall, you'd at least have to feel it sways in one way. I mean, you're a top 25 ranked team for a reason. You want to continuously show that throughout the rest of the season. But another kind of keys to victory, I guess for Akron specifically against Colonel, just kind of dictate the pace from the start overall, especially in those respawns. Would you agree with that, Cash?
I definitely would. This is a team, again, sitting as good as they are in their hard points at 15 and 3 overall. You know that's because they like to control the pace and tempo. Whenever you're imposing the game on the other team, you're forcing them to miss-rotate, miss gunfights, and not be ready to take those fights because you're sitting in different spots around the map. So just the way this Akron team likes to play, they punish teams for miss-rotations, for losing rotational gunfights, and that's just talking respawns. But whenever they can exploit something in Search and Destroy, they take advantage of that. So if they can do that, yeah, this could be a quick series tonight.
I said earlier on, the kind of what we talked about beforehand, before we even got on camera, is that if you are Colonel Esports, again, you're viewed as the underdog in the series, and that's not a bad thing overall. It allows you to come out, kind of write your own story, maybe have a Cinderella story instead of your top cut. But taking maps 2, 3, and 5, why is that so important for a team that's maybe not favored in hardpoint?
It just shows that you at some point can take a respawn in this series, or even then, if you want to look at it another way, it's that if it gets to a game 5, it's going to favor a team that's good in those 2, 3, 5 modes. You know that the longer the series goes, the more life teams like this find. So, traditionally you want to find a hard point early if you can, but it's not bad being, like you said, a 2, 3, 5 team, because as this goes the distance, you feel more and more comfortable where other teams maybe try to close things out early. That's where you can catch some wins in late games.
For Colonel Esports, it's CMAC, it's Hunter. On the side of Akron, we look to Bio and Thieves. Overall, what do you see the duo matchup looking like for both of these sides? What does Colonel need to do in order to shut those 2 players from Akron down who have been so good over the last few weeks?
They have to come out on fire, and generally a map you kind of get a good gauge of that is Bacage. We're going to go to Tuscan, which is still one where you can get a lot of engagements, and so from the start they have to be able to match this Akron team. I mean, they're sitting at 23 overall in the CCL standing, so it's one where they're going to have to come out and play up. Don't wait for Akron to try to bring the game to you, because when they do, that's whenever the pacing gets out of hand and out of control. Bring the game to them. Just come out and put a stunner on them early. And again, if there's a duo that can do that, it's going to be Hunter and CMAC tonight. So I'm looking for them to match that energy and that play style out of the other 2 early.
You'd have to hope so. And I mean, looking at the series and it is a grand total for Colonel Esports, my thing coming into the series is, again, when you're viewed as this underdog, and Akron is looking at you as a kind of just another team on the schedule that they have to go ahead and beat, you are inside of the top cut. No matter who you're playing inside of the top cut, sure, you might be a team like Ottawa or Bay State. You might be at the top of your division, and you're never really in jeopardy of losing a series up until it comes to playoff time, or at least you'd assume they're not in danger of losing a series up until playoff time. But for Akron, I've seen a lot of improvements. I've also seen a lot of consistency. But, they did lose 3-0 last week. It was their first loss of the season. I don't expect that to mentally affect them to a high extent. But that does show vulnerability for a Colonel Esports team. You got to assume that's going to at least give them some sort of mental, ability or maybe just a little bit of stimulation to say, hey, why not us? Why not take this series off of Akron and not only elevate ourselves inside of the top cut, but get maybe even into the top 25 conversation or on the tail end of that, just on the outside bubble?
I completely agree, and I think the biggest part of that for Colonel Esports is having that faith in yourself, right? Maybe we can win. You believe in your squad. You're obviously in the top cut for a reason. You're one of the top teams here. Go out and play like it. It's just believing in yourself whenever you have doubt, within the team camp and different things like that is where you start to see some kind of internal crumbling. But whenever you have a squad that's on fire, believes that they can take down anyone on any given week, you can see something where they come in, play a team like Akron, and pull off the, I guess, again, what you would say is the upset. But you can't count any of these teams out. So I'm looking for them to show adaptability, know what they need to do, whether it be mid-series or mid-game, to make adjustments to try to best this Akron squad. So it just starts with believing in yourself and knowing, hey, on any given night, if we take it one game mode, one round at a time, we can find success, and that's the way they can get this done.
Search and Destroy has been I want to say struggle, or at least a relative struggle for Akron. It's been their weakest mode overall when you compare it to a hard point or a control. Specifically for Colonel, they haven't looked great in Search and Destroy either. What kind of dichotomy does that create inside of a series when both teams are struggling in a specific mode more so than the other two? And how do you find a little bit of not only momentum inside of a Search and Destroy, but really how do you come out of the gates in an S&D on a weak opponent?
Again, if you're both shaped up and it's your weaker mode across both, you have to find the mistakes in the other team first. Obviously, if it's not your strongest mode, you obviously recognize and have the awareness that you're prone to mistakes and you're going to slip up. But it's really just, it sounds pretty simple, but not making the bigger mistake, right? You don't want to give up the big play. Control what you can in the game. If it's not your best mode, the least you can do is minimize your mistakes and capitalize where the other team gives you. So it's less worrying about how good or how the other team is doing, but just having the awareness on the map to say, okay, this is the opening we have, or we have this first blood, we got our life. Take those wins where you can, and that'll mount to a Search and Destroy win. That'll add up the rounds and things like that. So it sounds kind of simple once you get in the game. I know it gets a little hectic, of course, but really just taking it round by round, playing off of your strengths and not necessarily looking at the weaknesses.
Well, we went wide view. Let's go ahead and bring ourselves back to our hard point. Tuscan map number 1, Zips versus Colonel Esports. Overall, Zips, a very, very dangerous hardpoint roster. You let them get out to a lead early on, they're going to punish you for it. Even towards the mid portion of a game, they have a slow start. They're going to be able to bring back firepower into the match. It's like a stick of dynamite being thrown at you at every different corner. If it's a dam, well, the water's going to surely flood the rest of the map. And for the Zips Esports roster, you'd love to start out with a nice 1-0 series lead over a tough opponent of Colonel Esports. Cash, map number 1 underway.
Gonna see this break off just the other way it traditionally does, in the sense of perhaps Colonel gonna get some early time, but really like to see this turn into a map flip. And when you open up with 3 straight, that'll get things going, as now we're gonna see these players advance up the map, maybe get another set of cutoff kills, and then look to try to flip these spawns. So with the early 15 seconds going their way and players getting these kills off of spawn, you're sitting pretty well for Colonel Esports.
Inside of the point, 30 seconds left. We'll start talking about rotations here in just a moment. One last break for Akron, at least an attempt at it. Here for the last 20. There's going to be Colonel Esports, though, that hold on strong. Few nades out towards the left side. This is the different conversation, though, Cash. Do you rotate over towards the north portion of the map, or do you try to get yourselves in towards that south side, maybe even towards the middle of the church to break this next hill?
I would say to break it, you can find success on that top side of the map because there are just so many different back positions you can control, and once you know you have control of those lanes, really plat and green are the one things you have to worry about. So I think if you get it from the back, you're just looking at those 2 lanes from the front, and that's the best way to find success to break. And Colonel Esports, they tried to get through the back there, but Akron Zips quick on the reaction and able to pick that up, and now we see a split coming in through Church Alley and in the back. If this gunfight's lost in the back, which it is, this should get Akron Zips more than likely back in this game. But as we see Plat opening up and players finally getting the clearance, it's going to be a 3 for 2 in the feed. Colonel control, they get the break.
It was a quick double from the front. Wajin, Hunter were able to go ahead and break from Radio and the Plateau alike. Got the spawns all the way in towards the back. Colonel Esports have done a nice job of not only being able to hold down hardpoint 1, but getting to P2. For Akron, though, it's been a bit of a different story. You have the rotation back over towards P3. You're trying to play for a bit of time here, not let the side of Colonel run away with it. Biggest problem now is just making sure that you can hold down the entire bottom portion of the map and make sure Colonel don't get those close spawns.
Gunfights go their way on rotation, and they secure the last 15 seconds of scrap time. So, again, you know this Akron team's going to find success in hard point. It's just, can you get the breaks early like Colonel Esports have, and not let them use this P3 as a money hill to get right back into this game and secure themselves a decent lead. But as this kill feed has been blue for quite some time, Colonel Esports, they're going to have to look to regroup and try to hit this one as a squad.
Well, you can sit on point number 1, get yourselves a bunch of time, but then the rotations have to come in. You broke P2, okay. This is where it really becomes a very daunting task, is when you have to break into P3, especially when you have Bio holding down the back line. You saw from the top 5 plays that he is a menace when he gets on the back head glitch there, finding to break him down, but Arxes, who's on out on 7 in a row. Full streaks, by the way. Gonna be able to break on back in towards the hill. Storm is there for 2, tries to go for the 3rd one there. Weijin gonna get knocked down from Thieves, who could come quick on the respawn. 15 seconds left, rotation towards the next hill, but the big storyline out of P3, the Akron Zips will take the lead.
And they're already here on the rotation, winning gunfights. The trade's even, but it's going to be a 2v2 on this fight, or on the site, while the players from Akron rotate over from P3. And as we see a pinstripe kill feed, it will be Colonel with early control, but we see Akron, they have the ability to break early and get back in this. So if you're Colonel Esports, you're trying to grow this lead out, trying to get in a setup where you can cut these players off and keep them from entering into church. But as 2 try to come in the front, the break's on.
First 2 kills going to go the way of Akron. Back and forth, we trade a double. Bio, who's all the way in the backside spawns, will spot out CMAC. Should be able to go ahead and find the player in towards the point, but CMAC will be able to get the best of him. 2 in a row. Now Storm's going to be able to find himself 1, make it 2. Weijin going to be able to trade that back on out. So as Akron Zips tried to go ahead and make themselves a break, Colonel Esports not only retain the lead, but of course will find themselves holding down the church. 20 seconds left. It's the fight for scrap time here, as Colonel Esports and Akron Zips will be fighting back over towards that bottom portion of the map for what is basically just a hill of who can dodge a couple of field mines.
That is how P5 goes, and then for once it's going to be Colonel Esports getting the last bit of scrap time. That'll extend their lead out to about 10 points as we see P5 pop. Colonel Esports also in control on this rotation, and Weijin, who had a really important job making these players go back to the respawn screen and cut them off at mid-map. Doing just that as now they collapse through mid-map onto the point, and in firm control for the first 15 seconds. It's going to be Colonel Esports, Akron Zips, poised and ready for the break now.
Dreco on the staircase doorway. Bio looking to break the break on in. Arxes will be the first one in. Weijin finds Storm. Bio there as well. Pinstripe kill feed. Going to allow the side of Akron to go for a 3-2 trade. Instantaneously, they're going to be able to break back in once again. 95-115. Colonel Esports have the lead here, but with 25 seconds left, we'll start talking about the next set of rotations, and more importantly, the rotation to the top side of the map for P1. It's a huge one-on-one engagement across the map off screen. It's going to be CMAC who takes the best of Storm there. It should set up the Colonel Esports roster for success at P1 once again.
Big gunfight win by CMAC in order to at least make that rotation a little bit easier. Gets another huge one, and also a win on P5 because Colonel Esports didn't let Akron get clean scrap time, and that's good because now we're sitting at a tied game as we start the second set of rotations. You have the right-hand side of the map spawns for the time being. If you're Colonel Esports, you were able to find good time the first time around, so you're just looking to replicate that while also keeping these spawns on the right side of the map. And as your teammates are handling things in church, you're handling things on the point if you're Hunter. This Colonel Esports squad looking sharp on hardpoint against a team like Akron Zips.
The break in from Akron. First one around the corner. Hunter's going to be able to find one now, make it 2, 4 in a row. Rest of the help comes in. Colonel Esports will collapse on the spawn side of the Akron Zips, shut them down, force them to respawn yet again, and have to run into the line of sight of Hunter. You can just see them starting to go through the middle of the map. They do not want to take that challenge yet again. Dreco, though, will be sitting in a corner, waiting patiently for the next couple of players to slide on in. P1 has been the residential home for Colonel Esports thus far. They made an entire mountain of hill time out of just one hard point.
And for me coming out of this, it's Hunter sitting on 22 kills already, over 30 engagements in this game. On streaks as well, playing for that glide bomb, which could be really critical as this game starts to go on. And you know Akron's going to hit back, right? You know they're going to have a punch and have a good hill here. Can you adapt and just try to minimize that damage? And they're doing just that by extending the lead out the way that they are, now growing over 60 points. Akron trying to break in through Plat and Alley. Here comes a pinch on the point. Colonel Esports have it handled.
Hunter goes for number 8, full streaks yet again for Colonel Esports. 24 in 13 with a minute and 21 in hill. Gosh, you talked about CMAC and Hunter. I didn't think that they would be this big of a performance from one specific player in map number 1, but the streak will come in. You'll try to break on back in towards P2 before the rotation commences. But the big storyline last time, gosh, Akron, they had rotated early. This time it's going to be Colonel Esports who are going to get the best of them on the jump. The foot race over towards the next hill is going to be won by a mile.
They're going to get possibly the last 15 seconds of this scrap time, at least not let Akron get it. So still a 40-point lead, but at the top side of the map, gunfights were lost, and it's going to be Thieves there early for this P3 control. What we thought was very clean left side of the map control out of Colonel Esports. They get killed on rotation, and now it's going to be Akron. We're in the point early once again. You got to try to find a break, and this is what we talked about. If you're Colonel, if you want to find success against this Akron team, you've got to minimize these mistakes. You can't let them have their way on the map, and it feels like a replica of what we saw last P3. The kill feed is all blue, though no one's on time. Trying to get a little more map control, but it's just a waiting game as 20 seconds have almost come off of this.
Gotta get in the hill, though. Right now, Colonel Esports have done a great job of being able to minimize the amount of time gained from the Akron Zips. On the back, head glitch, Wasion will win a huge one-slide challenge around the corner. You're gonna get the spawns, and you're gonna break on through. That's what we've wanted to see at a Colonel Esports time and time again here in the hardpoint. They've just done just that in a fireworks delightful show, and now have the ability to cross that 200-point mark here, either here on this P3 or on the next set of rotations. Huge one-on-one gunfight for the scrap time, but it allows 1 and 4 and Hunter and Wasion to get out. Arcsees, though, on the rotation, looks for Wasion. Spawn's gonna be close, though, for Colonel. They're going to be inside the church first.
Last time around, Colonel also got a great bit of time on this P4. Akron, though, able to break it and try to contest it. Really didn't get many seconds off of this, so you've got to start at improving that, and with 2 in the feed and 3 in the hill, that's going to be a way to start for them. They are in early, so it's going to be up to Colonel Esports to not let them get this time, because they can take the lead and cross that 200-point mark first. If that's the case, we'd like to get a break in here at about the 30-second mark. At worst, to make it a tied game and get your rotation over to P5 like you had, but as these players come from top and side, it's going to be a pinstripe kill feed, and it's Colonel Esports trying to get in.
Wasion goes for 1, but Hunter yet again huge for the roster. 34 in 17. They cross the double century point mark, and now with 20 seconds left, Cash, we start talking about the next rotation once again to the stun nade fest of point number 5, but different players streaking from Colonel Esports. They're going to get the scrap time here. They should be at about 220 to 186. They can win off the next hard point.
And what's nice about whenever you can extend a lead like that in a hard point, especially in the way of Tuscan, where, you know, this is a very tactical heavy point, you don't have to get every second of it, and that's the disadvantage for Akron. They need every second of this hill. So really, if you just make a clean push together, you need about 35 seconds. And so if you can just get 1 squad wipe, then that would put you in good position to do that. And as we see a pinch develop from 3 sides, Colonel Esports are looking to try to get in.
Gotta be able to find at least one. Dreko's gonna be there. Slides around the corner. Staircase. 2 players left alive from Akron. Contest still in. Wasion sliding now. Arcsees, though, with another double kill, makes it the third 2. 5 in a row from Arcsees. Bio and Storm will back up inside of the hard point. Nobody can win off of this hill anymore. We'll at least see a rotation back over towards T1. Again, might I add, that's where Colonel Esports, that's where they've made their home for the entirety of the game thus far. But Storm still holding on strong, trying to find these crucial seconds of scrap time. It's only 15 seconds, but it could be the biggest 15 seconds of the game thus far.
It's going to go the way of Akron, and we are going to be at a tied game going into P1. Player for Akron already there. Big gunfight mid-map that Thieves takes. That lets 2 players get on this hill, and with either squad able to win it here, Colonel Esports, they have to get on the point early. This game's turned on its head.
Akron, for the first time, have the lead. They were down by multiple 50 to 80-point margins throughout the entirety of this Tuscan hardpoint. And with 48 seconds left, nobody has been able to get back towards the point. But can Hunter go big once again? Bio will shut them down. The 2 top slayers in a one-on-one gunfight that could decide the game.
Got 10 seconds to make a play. Here it comes out of Colonel Esports. A nade's going to stop that, but this is your last go at it. You know 3 players about to fly around this corner. You get 1, you get 2 if you're Bio, and the third one walks right into Arcsees. That is going to be map number 1. Akron Zips, again, what was down almost 100 points at one point, bring it back in the last 2 hills to chain them together and get the win here in map number 1.
I mean, even in the pre-show, we were sitting there like, okay, you know, Akron, great hardpoint team. They have composure. They have this. They have that. For what was, I think, 75, maybe 80% of that hardpoint, Colonel Esports were in the driver's seat. They were shutting everybody down. I mean, thanks to the Hunter, he put the backpack on, say, hey, everybody, hop on in. And they were able to go ahead and have great success at the beginning of the game. After that, though, when everybody else was still struggling and Hunter slowed down even just a little bit, Akron, well, they turned back up. And they showed us that they are still good at hardpoint. And they can still take the series lead 1-0 over their opponents, especially inside of their division, which they're trying to make automatic qualification of for playoffs. Cash, talk us through the statistics.
Just looking at this for Colonel Esports, if you have any other player go even, 500, I think that's a win for Colonel Esports. It's just unfortunate there were some slow starts out of the other 3 teammates alongside Hunter. Losing that one by less than 35 points. Definitely a couple performances could have helped swing that one the other way. And then if you look on the side of Akron, a much more balanced attack from them, and I think that's what helped them there in the late game. Players were all able to find kills when necessary, whether that was on rotation or on the hill to keep time. So I think the kills and the slang are definitely what told the story for this map, where It was off to a hot start for Colonel Esports. It was Akron who, with the balanced attack at the end, were able to take it.
Look across the board. Everybody on Akron pulling their own weight, slaying out when they needed to. It was very dicey towards that midsection of the game, but really, I guess the turning point for me felt more or less like it was end of P4 into P5, and then once they got the rotation and Colonel Esports weren't able to hold their residential back over on P1, it was completely flipped on its head. They paid the mortgage off, they sold the house, and well, now we're here on Berlin for the Search and Destroy with an Akron Zips 1-0 lead. Gosh, this is Akron's statistical worst game mode. How are we feeling going up into this one? And are Colonel Esports going to be able to right their wrongs of map number 1 and be able to hold on to a potential lead?
I think Akron feel good going into this one. Yeah, it's your weaker mode, but I mean, you're still sitting at 8-3, you know, so you say weaker, but really it's not too bad for them. I think they're sitting fine, especially knowing that they could clutch up there at the end of that hard point. That gives them a little bit of gas coming into this one. And for Colonel Esports, right now you just need some performances out of some other players to really gauge how things are going. Hunter did it all in that respawn and nearly got them the win. Usually in the Search and Destroy, at least we've been seeing out of stage 2 to start, it's been Hunter and C-Mac dropping nearly double digits in Search and Destroy. So those players, when they have big performances, the team finds success. So I'm going to need some people to step up on that side.
Across the board, entertaining game number 1. Definitely some things for Colonel Esports to fix. Mainly, it's just stepping up when you need to. That's a trait that's easy and hard to come by in Call of Duty. And the reason I say that is because at any given time, you could feel yourself on the map, pop 2, pop 3 in a row, and completely change the pacing of your game for yourself. That's exactly what Hunter did, and it was helping Colonel Esports be able to jump out to these exponential leads, specifically when it was on rotations, getting into breaks, finding himself around the map. When you don't have anybody else really in the supporting cast that's being able to break with you or have a substantial hold on a hill, it's going to be very difficult, especially when you're trying to make a pinch play all the way back around to get into the hill. What was it, P5? There was, I think there were, when you made that, when you called out that pinch play that was being made, the thing that I saw is, I believe it was C-Mac, not 100% sure, but he was sitting on the outside waiting to get into that hill for so long. And there were a lot of plays that were made by Colonel Esports where they were either too nervous to make the plays or they just didn't want to overextend something that they thought might not need to be there, and that led to catastrophic, cataclysmic failures in their line, and that obviously led to them losing the game. So if you're going to make a play, if you're going to execute on a play, don't get nervous about it. Don't hold yourself there. Make the play happen. That's all it takes. Just make the play happen.
Yeah, again, that comes back to believing in yourself and your team's ability. You know, if it was a nerves thing, you know, you can look at the name Akron Zips and think like, you know what this squad's going to bring game in and game out, but you've just got to trust that Akron's going to make big plays. Why not make a big play of your own? Give yourself that chance by, like you said, just executing, deciding, being decisive to execute. And off the rip here on offense, we see a decisive play towards B. Bio is going to shut that down with the bomb drop.
I was going to say, guess who it is? Bio opens up the door for the first kill in the Search and Destroy. Trades back and forth, though. Arxes will find the second after sitting in the corner to pick up C-Mac. Hunter, the last one alive for Colonel Esports, all the way in the back of their map. And you can see player number 6 in Thieves starting to make that play all the way back around. Should be able to go ahead and find the pinch. If Arxes doesn't take the challenge first, MP40 all the way through the back line. Thieves will pick up the kill. The Akron Zips will find that first round off a beautiful snipe there in the first blood from Mr. Bio.
And that was just stuff from the beginning. Whenever you let Bio hit a shot like that and get picked as you're crossing over to B, he was able to get all that information that, hey, this is a B hit. All the Akron's players adapted, made the play they need to, got the picks that they needed, and found themselves in a comfortable position early in round number 1. But on offense, we're going to see how they look to play this one with Bio. Sniper still in hand.
Sniper and Search and Destroy specifically, where Bio will be playing to now. Not always used to get first bloods, but of course the time that I'm going to make a great point out of it, Bio will just take the player off the map. Hunter, who has been this outstanding player for Colonel Esports, will fall immediately. C-Mac will fall to the hands of Arxes, who's now on 3 in a row. Nobody over towards A. The rotation back from B. Good news is if you're Akron, you had a 2-0 lead and 45 seconds left for 2 players to break you back.
And I like the play from Akron to go A. You get the pick from Bio, and worst case scenario after that's a 4v3 on the site. It ended up being a 4v1 on the site. They get that player. Now 2v4 retake coming in for Colonel Esports. You know he's going to be stairs. So floating around there. You got someone chowing down long, but these players with not much time left to work, got to find the picks.
Arxies will get taken off the streak, so no opportunities for the glide bomb, as well as that strafing run for now. Dreco, who's last alive in a 1 versus 2, will try to challenge through the window, but they're going to check their corners inside of P1. Find themselves a nice another round win. So, again, it's always great when you can just point to a statistic and say, hey, this team, they're not the greatest when it comes to search and destroy, but again, when it's an 8-3 record, Cash, as you pointed out beforehand, there's never really nothing to be too worried about, especially when you win map number 1 the way you did. And you're shutting down the most important players on Colonel Esports right now. I believe that was one of your keys to success, shut down Hunter and CMAC, and, well, they've done just that.
They have done just that, and Bio has found so much success, even though, he's 2-2, it's nothing crazy to start. Just the 2 openers he's been able to find with the sniper have worked wonders for the squad and allowed them to have as much success as they've had in the round. So now it's going to be a 3v2 on the site. Colonel Esports are going to break in and try to get it down, but Thieves says, no thank you, and shuts that one down. Weijin picks up 1, but that's going to be the attacking round halted.
Okay! Well, that's Thieves for you, folks. If you're unfamiliar, you haven't seen it beforehand or whatnot, well, allow him to reintroduce himself. 3 kills there in the round. They make quick work of the entire opposition. They push close. You're not going to win that 9 times out of 10 if you're Colonel Esports. You're pushing directly into the belly of the beast, and Akron Zip's roster shows you exactly why their search and destroy is continuously improved. Once again, as we push forward, another offensive round here for Akron. Bomb going to be making its way over in towards the A building. Bio going to see the player cross. Unfortunately, won't be able to find the snipe this time.
And that is going to be the only player over for Colonel Esports, so we'll see. Akron, they've really been trying to bully out these sites, and with the bomb getting planted quickly, only 2 players are going to be here for Colonel Esports once this goes down, but that's really not been the problem. The problem's been you can't win a gunfight if you're Colonel Esports. CMAC finally gets on the board with 1. You get into the site, but you still got a lot of work to do.
Got a lot of work to do. You only have 30 seconds left to be able to find all the rest of the kills, and of course the defuse that goes along with it. Hunter will try to slide challenge around the corner, get some bad timing. Bio, who's all the way laid back with a sniper. The win condition is all set in there. Second player jumps in and around the corner. That's a great kill there, but it's a 1 versus 3. Arxies trying to go big yet again on the site. For the first time, though, Colonel will be able to find the kills that they need and are required to be able to win a search and destroy round, but more importantly, they get that oh-so-precious bomb defusal as well. First time on the board, still got a lot of ways to go if they want to dig themselves out of this hole. 1-3, the score as we go.
And I hope to see Colonel Esports play around the fact that they know Bio is running that sniper. You saw that close gunfight come in, though Bio was challenging long, and that's a nice gunfight to take if someone has the bomb heady. Whenever you take that gunfight close, the sniper doesn't stand too much of a chance. So I'd like to see them continue to play around that information and around knowing, hey, if we can close distance and make these gunfights close, we stand a better chance of getting Bio off the map. Of course, he's getting a lot of information off the rip, but with the auto out, like you said, you make a good point, and then suddenly things change, and we're going to see Akron look to make an adjustment as well.
Draco will get cut down first. Bio. Beautiful 2-piece to open up the round yet again. 20 seconds is all that's been ticked off the clock. CMAC, Weijin, the last 2 alive, playing passive inside the same building. It's a collapse at any moment from Akron.
And in everything I've just noted thus far with Colonel Esports, whether it be offense or defense, they've been unable to win these gunfights, and as we see them even things back up in a 2v2, it has improved as the game's gone on, but these first bloods have just been so lopsided in favoring Akron. If they want any kind of long-term success, they've definitely got to find those.
But I don't know if they actually spotted Arxies, who's playing all the way towards the back, and I don't think they did, so he'll be in prime position to be able to shut this bomb plant down. Question is, when is it going to come in? Shots over the top. Bomb going to get knocked down at the same time. Win condition. Just sit on this head glitch and hope that Weijin doesn't gun you off while your second player is going to be able to flank from the middle of the map. Weijin's going to be looking for it, though. Thieves on the tank, just trying to waste as much time as humanly possible. A challenge all the way in towards the back. Weijin will go ahead and pepper the player up. Grabs the bomb, tries to hop upon it, but now he's going to play it for the backside. Second player hopping in through the window. That's the best advantage that you're going to have. In a 2 versus 1, you make it stick. And what could have been a beautiful 2 versus 4 clutch on the Colonel Esports side, the Akron Zips, they take advantage of the situation that they already had in the first place.
Like you said, it was Arxies who got in the back and didn't get spotted, and that just played spoiler on the round. You thought you were getting a clean bomb plant down, and, well, when he picks one, that forces you to readjust and reevaluate how you want to take that approach, and Akron Zips up 4-1, look very comfortable in their strategies and decisive in their play calling here.
Another offensive attack for Akron. Usually Bio, the one with the sniper. Be holding it over towards the site for the time being. Looking to the fire windows. 2 players now making their way onto the B site. Dreco on the head glitch of the actual bomb site itself. Thieves with a nade all the way back in towards the spawn side. Just tries to get information or a couple of shots. Maybe weaken up a player for everybody else to be able to pinch on through. Thieves inside of the site will get this bomb down. Win condition. Bio in the back with a sniper. Hunter's going to be on the site. Tries to go ahead and win the gunfight. Will, but just, barely. 28 HP survives.
Taking the bomb to fuse, and Bio...
Oh, is he going to get this?
Trying to pick it through, but I don't think he did. They stuck it, and they got it. This should be it. Great
what a
job.
Smart play.
That was such a smart play to shut the doors, and Bio has a sniper, so it's not like he can spray and pepper shots. He's got to land it, and he doesn't, so that's going to be round number 2 on the board for Colonel Esports. I just like that they hopped it. They didn't have, a complete site control as players were starting to collapse, but trusted their gut, trusted the look over, and just said, hey, if you just shoulder this, draw Bio's attention, I'm going to hop this into fuse, and it works out for them. And there we saw they got a first blood on the board. Yeah, Akron was able to even it out, but at least it's not as lopsided as it was to start for Colonel Esports.
Bio will make the way up the map. Greco will slide around the corner. Oh my, I want to know what that looked like from Bio's perspective. We might be able to get a little POV here from the first person. If he would have found that kill on the Hunter, I would have been screaming his name to the rafters, but things will survive, at least for the time being. Colonel Esports trying to get things at least to a manageable 3-4 deficit. Wasion with a kill there will even things out at 2 versus 2. Across the map, bomb still down over towards that B site. What do the Akron Zips do here on this defensive play?
You got to find these players, and not sure if Arxes did. I know he has a suspicion someone's over here, and with the bomb getting picked up, that's going to be the information the cross found. It's just patience from Akron to find success. That's what they do. They know the bomb's down on the side of the map. They wait for the player to have to go pick it up, and now in a 1v2, yeah, they're playing a part, and of course we've seen a lot of people just pick off these 1v1 fights, but I think this player's about to run right into their sight, get caught. Just good composure from Akron.
First Bloods have been the name of the game for Akron throughout the entirety of our Berlin Search and Destroy. No different in these last few rounds. Bio, up close and personal, was able to basically barrel stuff a kill with a sniper to start the round off. A few players came through for trades, but the damage had been done already. Trades in the back, and of course, playing up and towards the top of the back building of Arxes was able to spot the player out. I think that they might have known that bomb was down either way. It's always great to be able to play between both of the sites. Now on the offensive side, you can close things out here in the Search and Destroy. Enjoy a comfortable 2-0 series lead. Your match point with a 5-2 lead in the S&D.
And on defense, Colonel have been liking to go 2-2 to each site, where Akron have been able to just overwhelm with their presence, whether they send 3 or 4 to one site. Pinch able to be worked in from Dreco, but I think with him shooting, that's going to be his position made aware. The wrap around the back, this could work out for them depending on how much time they can waste. Dreco does get 1, but as you still have the bomb down and 3 players to pick off, it's got to be a huge play.
2 versus 2. Wasion down below tries to snap on the Phoebes, but Phoebes will be able to find the best of it. 6 in a row from Arxes here. Stand down the Search and Destroy at 11-2 overall. Thieves at 9-2 around the corner. The slide challenges there. Arxes will make quick work of it. Dances, dilly-dallies around the pole, and is able to find those last few shots to give the Akron Zips a 6-2 win. The Do-Si-Do will be tangoing on to the Tuscan control, or rather the Gavutu control, I should say. Gosh, what an incredible Search and Destroy performance there from Akron Zips, making it clinical quick work of Colonel.
Just the first bloods, that tells you everything you need to know from this series. I mean, they had over 10 of them in that Search and Destroy, and that's just the problem. It's hard to break down many other S&D statistics or, different plays that you can call, but if you're not winning those first bloods, it's hard to get anything going. And it started off hot with Bio and the sniper, and then from there, the best that Colonel Esports could do was trade it out, and that was just too much of a deficit to climb back in by the time that game got rolling.
The S&D leaves us with a beautiful taste in our mouth. If you are an Akron Zips fan, 12-2 from Arxes, again 9-2 from Thieves. A 1-6 performance from Storm and a 5-6 from Bio really are kind of masked by how good the rest of the team played, but more importantly, even though Bio was 5-6, playing with the sniper the majority of the game, finding those first bloods for Akron, so crucial. We look to the other side, really nothing stands out except a 7-6 performance from Wasian, but both of those kills came in 1v odd situations where, you know, they're not necessarily unimportant kills, but they just kind of make the scoreboard look a little less... not flashy, I guess, is the best way to say it. You're just doing cleanup work for yourself at that point.
Yeah, and Akron needed to have an answer for what was Hunter's big map 1, though it, you know, amounted to a loss. You needed to shut him down and not let him get any more confidence in his gameplay. You do that in the search and destroy. You also keep C-Mac at a slower performance. Wasian, like you said, does step up there for the team. It's just not enough. So you're seeing, again, a more balanced attack. Like you said, though, 5-6 from Bio. That's with the sniper. You know, that looks a little bit better knowing he's getting those critical information and picks along. So it's been a balanced attack from Akron that's shown them, you know, able to find success. And then from Colonel Esports, it's one player doing the job. And you need a more balanced attack, especially against a squad like Akron Zips.
Map 3, Gavutu Control, coming up after a short break. We'll be back with you here in just a moment. Either way, stick tuned. The Bravo stream's also going on at the same time, so feel free during this quick break to go ahead and show some Bravo love and, of course, take a gander at the two teams playing there. My name is McCormiel. With me is Cash. We'll be back here in just a moment. Well, it was a close map number 1, but the search and destroy was anything but. Akron Zips, the number 23 ranked team overall inside of the CCL, are having a nice, comfortable 2-0 lead over the Colonel Esports roster of Nicholls State University. My name is McCormiel. With me is Cash. We'll take a look at our map set here overall. As you can see, as mentioned beforehand, the first 2 maps went to the Akron Zips. We go to a Gavutu Control for map number 3 for what could be the final map of this best-of-5 series.
And I think that'll be the case. I just think Akron came out with a little too much zip here to start this series. You know, like you said, that hard point was close, but when that search and destroy rolled around, they just showed dominance in that through and through. Yeah, you were currently Sports able to get a couple rounds, but if you watch that, you know, the momentum was just a bit too much swinging in the way of Akron. So I think on this Gavutu Control, it's going to be very defensive heavy, of course, but I think Akron will find a way to get an offense here against this team and close it out in 3.
Colonel, your biggest objective was to not allow Bio and Co to be able to pop off. Well, kind of did that in map 1. Bio didn't have the best performance we've seen from him, but again, it was not a bad performance by any stretch of the imagination. I believe he was 5 or 6 kills positive, anyways. And then you look to Thieves, you look to Arxes, you look to Storm. Everybody had their moments throughout those first 2 maps. But specifically in the search and destroy of really why they were able to not only take the lead and command it into a 2-0 series lead, was just Arxes pairing with Thieves to, I believe, drop was basically 20 kills by themselves, and also lead themselves to a comfortable 6-2 victory. So going into a Gavutu Control, you mentioned beforehand, you think that Akron Zips will be able to get a couple of offensive rounds or maybe just one that they need. I absolutely am on the same kind of boat. And although I want to give credit to Colonel Esports for putting on a really good show when it comes to at least map number 1. I think that they've learned a lot from this series, and they can continue to learn a lot from this Control upcoming. I just don't think that it's necessarily their time just yet to beat a team like Akron. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't see them winning a few maps against very, very talented teams in their top cut a little later on, but overall, I just think this is one of those teams that is just a little bit too hot, a little bit too tough to tango. And they're just going to have to go back to the drawing board and get better and get ready for the rest of the season because it's going to be a grueling one inside of the top cut. Either way, a 2-0 lead, Gavutu Control here. Cash, walk us through, I guess, maybe a slight key to success here for Colonels if they even want to see the light of day of a map 4.
Same thing we hit on in the search and destroy. Until I see improvement in this area, which is slaying, that doesn't change for me. It's been one person across the 2 modes that we've seen for Colonel Esports. It was Hunter in the hard point, and then it was Wasian in the S&D. It's got to be a more balanced attack. We saw in the hard point how balanced it was. All players positive for Akron. We saw in the search and destroy 2 players in takeover mode. You've got to be able to balance the slaying out if you want any kind of chance here, especially with Control coming down to kills.
I'm going to be looking out to the back lines. Dreco will open the game up with 2 quick kills. Hunter's there as well. It's an all-red kill feed and a great opening break for the Colonel Esports roster. Start the spawn trap here on the offensive team of the Akron Zips. Just holding on oh so patiently. Dreco not peeking his head too far up above the canyon there. Don't want to get that ripped off. Arxes, though, going to be able to make quick work of that player. A pinstripe kill feed will allow things to still go to a 4-man lead for Colonel Esports. On top of the LST ship, they still hold on towards that back spawn side of the Akron Zips.
Akron break out of the spawn trap early, go 2-2 ring and boat. They're going to have some presence on this A site here, just trying to stop the clock and also get towards this first tick of progression. Winning the gunfights on boat, that's going to grant them complete control there. Doing a little dance around ring and losing a gunfight, but still having that lane open. If they can lock down control there, that'll be big. As they look to get the rotation, Arxie's going to handle that one on 3 as well. So you have what is a tick of progression now on the A site. If you're Colonel Esports, you need to start to get a wipe here and focus on this. But with Arxie's over at B, you've also got to pay attention to that as well.
Top of the ship, Thieves on 2. Arxie's gets knocked down, that knocks the 3 spree off, and the highest streaking player of the Akron Zivs off the board. 23 seconds left, 2 life advantage to Colonel. Look to the middle of the map. LST ship still not being occupied by the offensive team. Dreco sprints through the site and looks to the top of the ship. Arxie's will find one, but C-Max will find the immediate trade. Over towards the bottom of the site, Dreco's going to be there from behind. Going to be able to find the first. A couple of players going to continuously swarm the hill. Thieves still on the top of the ship from the Akron Zips. Unfortunately, though, that's not equating to any time in sword the actual point itself. It's just still got to get on the point. You've only got 5 seconds left to do so. It's looking like a lost cause here already. Swarm of red arrows back over towards that point. Arxie's makes quick work of 2, but doesn't realize that Hunter's there from the middle of the map to find the last and final kill. The final nail in the coffin. A defensive round win for Colonel Esports, still taking advantage early on here in the Kavutu control.
And they were +4 in lives, so there's the turnaround I want to see from them to start. On defense, you do the slaying that you need to. It wasn't, monumental or anything, but it got the job done. A little bit of wind in the sails going into this offense. Don't get wiped like you did with Akron there and get in a spawn trap early, but if you do, be sure you have a way to get out of it. They just got to stay composed and take their time. That's what they did on the defense. Equated to a round win. Try to replicate that here on offense. Just play your game, play your pace, try to get the job done.
Falling back to the search and destroy. Arxie still the hot hand here in the control. Asian and the rest of the boys of the Colonel Esports roster are going to make their way up the beach over towards that B site. Those first 2 kills, oh so crucial, because this allows them not only to break onto that site, but potentially go for those first 2 ticks of progress. Still going to be towards the spawn side. Last couple of players from the middle of the map. Wasian will hold on. You get that first bit of progress over towards that B site. Now it's just going to be about going ahead and collapsing upon this point. If you're the Akron Zips, you're not going to be able to take down Wasian, though, who's now on 3 in a row. Nobody's able to see the sunshine back over towards that B point. That second bit of progress, oh so close to being finished, and it'll come through before the contestant is able to get onto the point. Finally, they'll be able to find themselves a kill onto Wasian, but at what cost? Well, the answer, I thought they were going to kill Wasian. Never mind! 5 in a row! Everybody else from Colonel Esports has gotten over towards the point, and that's what I get for fishing for a kill.
I mean, this is a completely different team than what we've seen the first 2 maps. Hunter started off so hot in that first hard point, but all 4 players playing very well right now for Colonel Esports, and you capture the harder mode first with 2 minutes left to get back over to A, and a 4 to 5 kill life advantage. So it just looks like they woke up, like they're here to play now. This is looking very good for them, as now they're going to have just about this first pick progression over at A. Live starting to even out for Akron, so they took a hit. They're looking to try to bounce back. It's going to be 4 down in the feed, and this is the progress that you needed if you were Akron to respond to what a big hit view was, but now just needing closer sight and still having several lives to go at this. As long as you don't get spawn trapped, you have about 5 more hits or so to be able to get to this point.
4 in a row from Arxies. Maintaining the top position on the ship. Dreco, costly team kill potentially, but is going to be able to find the second kill. Pair with that stun grenade that they have beforehand. 15 to 6, the Zips, in terms of life advantage, have it right now. Top of the ship, Arxies, 5 in a row. Looks for the second one. He's going to be climbing up the ladder, going to be able to spot out Hunter. Jumps around the corner. Bio's going to be able to make quick work of that player. Rest of the spawns now coming through. Reinforcements surely are following up behind. But the biggest problem is you're running straight into the Akron Zips players who are pre-aiming you as you run down the opposite side of the beach. And Cash, here's the thing, right? When was the last time you saw a Kavutu control that came down to the team not being able to capture the 8 point?
Yeah, no, I was going to say Optic this weekend, but I even think they did that. I know we're sitting here at College COD, but sometimes it can just be so hard. You overthink and try to analyze too much what you have to do, and it's just get out of spawn. You just need 1 4 down to do it. They have the hike that they have to make, and I think whenever teams get B, maybe they get a little shocked. They start to think like, whoa, like, we got the harder point. What do we do now? And start to get frazzled and panic. They have the hike to make. You need 1 clean wipe, and props to Akron for holding on. They're in the power positions they need to be. They're getting the kills as they come, and they're holding the line. So still with 40 seconds left, but only 4 lives. This one's going to come down to lives, and yeah, I just think they got a little too frazzled given the situation and couldn't get the picks on Akron.
Finally, they've been able to make their way onto the ship, but it's 3 to 10 in the life count. Now make it just 2. Wasian, a 1 versus 10. would have to come through. We saw the crazy 5 versus, I think it was, what, 12 to 16 from Optic. Unfortunately, the comparison's just not there right now. So Akron will be defiant on the defensive side. After getting that first B hit over on the offensive side for Colonel Esports, very, very interesting not to be able to get the LST ship. But just winning your gunfights on the defensive side is all you really need to do. That's your win condition. The Akron Zips play that to a T. They're enjoying now what is a tie game, but it was a very, very desperate last attempt at that.
Yeah, and even though you have B, it's still important to have ring control because you just saw players in Akron sitting there on their side staircase, just cutting those players off spawn. So even though you have the harder site, you still need to have presence on that side of the map in order to make sure players aren't in power positions to chop you off spawn. So as the kill feed goes 4 for 1, it's going to be Akron on A early, trying to get this point early on. Bio just trying to turn heads over at B, and this should be pretty quick progression over at A unless player 7 and Hunter wants to make a challenge over here. They could be chalking it up early, maybe time for one more pinch, but it's going to be a rotation over to B for Akron Zips.
See, right now they're just holding down that north portion of the map. They're just waiting, playing slow, trying to cut off a few players as they start to make their way after the ship, just making sure that they can go ahead and make sure the beach doesn't get controlled, but more importantly, making sure that Akron can't push into the spawn side of Colonel Esports. Pistol shot's going to be up at close and personal. Arxies will get the best of Dreco in the 1 versus 1 gunfight, but with a 25 to 21 lead, a nice little bit of progress made on the beach side. The headway is there. Question is, will you be able to suffice with the kills to go ahead and complement the push that's been oh so perfect over on the beach?
Up 5 lives and playing really well. This could be the rotation that they need. Players have this north side of the map controlled. They're just trying to get one more wave of clearance to be able to get onto this point. Knowing that they have the lives advantage, they might just try to play a little bit of TDM. If they can get them down to about 10 or so lives, really try to collapse on this point and get it done. And as Fees is shooting people in the back, they have them pinned down on the south portion of the map. We're going to see this point progress quickly.
This is where Akron can make you pay. You've got the first tick of progress over at B. Now the ARs have pushed up into the back line in the spawns of Colonel Esports. The rest of the players in the middle of the map. You got player number 6 and Dreco, who's over by the ring. Nade, long shots are going to be there. Nobody can touch the point. Akron, perfect at that B site. That was all behind a slow push on the beach side, a methodical mid-map hit, and of course, that's the offense. That was the win condition that Cash pointed out before we started this Kavutu control. That could be what was needed to put the final nail in the coffin of this Colonel Esports roster.
And I love out of Akron, whenever they get to their positions, they just hold. And by that, I mean they just get their power positions and know that this is the lane I need locked down. They don't get antsy. They don't try to do too much. They fill their rules and they get the kills that they need to, find the picks, and then work the map control that they need on offense and defense. Once they got clearance on B, they just held their lanes, did what they needed to do to close out the round. We saw them do it on defense last time around with ring control, someone boat looking over, looking to see them once they get a wipe to try and do that again. But with a pinstripe kill feed, they still got a little bit of work to do.
Well, basically it was a little teardrop that fell directly into the lap of Arxies for a quick kill there. Red in the bread basket, Hunter and Dreco will go ahead and finally trade things back out along the opposite side. As Dreco with the pistol tries to challenge Fees. That's not a gunfight that you're going to want to challenge 9 times out of 10, and while Fees is going to make you pay for it. 18 and 8 here inside of the control, 24 and 12 for Arxies. Again, both of these players picking up directly where they left off after that incredible search and destroy performance. Colonel Esports, I guess they're kind of picking up after where they left off in the S&D after the round number 1. It has not been anywhere near the same. 25 to 19, the life count slowly and surely dwindling down the lives. A defensive to win it here. Akron Zips with 25 seconds left, looking to close out map 3.
And Dreco has to go huge here if this play needs to evolve into anything. But whenever you go 1 for 4 in the feed, your teammates falling off spawn, you know you're not going to have a supporting cast anytime soon. Akron, they do exactly what they need to on defense. It's just way too aggressive. It's so hard to get out of spawn. And by the time you do, you have 6 seconds on the clock and you're down 10 lives. So they do exactly what they need to on defense for control. Got the offense round win that they needed. And yeah, they close this one out in a 3-0 fashion.
3-1 on the Kavutu control behind an incredible slaying performance after round number 1. A 3-0 sweep on the series. They'll go 2-1 thus far inside of their top cut inside of the Midwest. More importantly, moving themselves one step closer to getting the automatic qualification into the playoffs. Remember, you have to be a top 4 team out of that top cut a top 8 team out of that top cut in order to make the playoffs. And if you can do that, well, you'll have automatic qualification and, of course, can make your playoff run oh so much deeper, especially if you get a little bit of a worse team in that first round matchup. Either way, once playoffs come around, though, there's really not going to be any teams that you're looking at and saying, we might not be able to beat them. We might not be able to, maybe take a loss against them. Everybody's in a passion pit once you get to those final 64 teams of the season. Both of these teams trying to get there. Unfortunately, Colonel Esports will get knocked down another peg. Akron Zips, they'll continue themselves basically with an undefeated record. They'll move to 13-1.
And you mentioned we're in this kind of top cut type of division, and as we have a look over stats here, Storm with a fairly slow night, but whenever you're playing around Bio, Arceus, and Thieves, who have just been electric from really what was a slow first set of hills, and from then on never looked back. This Akron team looks poised and balanced and composed throughout their modes, and for Colonel Esports, again, just some hot starts in the control. What looked promising when they took that first round just didn't amount to a control win to try to get wind back in their sails, and they're going to fall here. But in this top cut, you're going to have, of course, all of these are the best teams, right? The top 3 from each pool, and you're still going to have your top teams within this cut. That is looking to be Akron now, and like you had alluded to previously, Colonel Esports is a team that can still get there, right? I would rather be losing to the best of the best, knowing that I'm only going to get better the next time I see this team, versus being in any other situation. So yeah, you're losing, but you're losing to the best, and that's only going to make you better. It's the tried and true, iron sharpens iron type of situation they find themselves in. So yeah, it's a tough loss, but again, you're in the top cut for a reason. They're going to make the improvements. They're going to get the reps in that they need to be better, and they will be better next time we see them.
You'd hope so, but I mean, overall, you have to consider, from just what we saw at the very beginning of the series, that Tuscan hardpoint, it was 250 to 218 up until the very last, 2 to 3 hills. That was all Colonel Esports inside of that game. It was theirs to lose. They were in the driver's seat, and unfortunately, it wasn't anybody else who took the wheel. It was them who drove themselves off into a crash course basically off the edge of a bridge. So that was kind of where things left off, and it was a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths after map number 1, but it also showed us what Colonel Esports were capable of against a top team like the Akron Zips. But overall, we moved to the search and destroy. Again, it was a 6-2 win for Akron. They never looked back. And after that first round on the offense where Akron just was not able to get out of their spawn and Colonel able to basically shut them down for the entire minute and 30 seconds, it was just an Akron Zip show through there on out. So 3-0 series sweep is going to allow them to move again to basically 2-1 inside of their top cut, moving further and further again towards that playoff push. Both teams still able to make playoffs at this point. Again, for Colonel Esports, it's just going to be a lot harder of a road to not only be able to get back to a positive record inside of their top cut, but of course that LCQ is looming off in the distance.
Yeah, some work to do for Colonel Esports, and many ways that they can improve. Like you said, you saw the potential of it in that hard point, how close that game was. It's just a matter of being able to close out maps like that. That's a map you've got to be able to take against a team like Akron or other teams going forward. And it could be a different mode next time. It could be a search and destroy. It could be a control. You've got to find a way to close those out whenever you have control the entire time. But again, it just goes to show the resilience of this Akron squad and why they're 23 overall. They're looking to make a statement here in this top cut and try to take the lead in this pool early.
Akron Zips moved to 2-1 inside of their top cut. Colonel Esports, unfortunately, will get knocked down another peg. 13-1 record for Akron on the season, looking to stay relatively undefeated. That one blemish, again, everything is imperfect at one point or another. Speaking of great and perfect teams, though, next up, Ottawa Esports, Arizona State. It's Ottawa versus basically, if you were watching last week, Fishity not only has made his name over this season, but last season, he's been a multiple season star here in some of the CCL, so look for that to be one of the best matchups, not only of the season, but of tonight especially. That'll be casted by Seymour and Cruz, and will put you in their very capable hands. You can catch myself and Cash down on the Bravo stream later at 10:30. Either way, we're going to take a quick break. Cruisin' and Seymour will hop on, and you guys will get a great night of Call of Duty here on the Alpha stream. Things aren't over. Bravo is still going on at the same time, so while we go to a break, go ahead and check out the Bravo stream. Either way, we'll be back after a short break for Ottawa versus Arizona State.